Hello, this is Daniel. I thought I would show you a little bit of my fodder house, take a walk around it, maybe go inside, see how I've got it set up. It's currently shut down right now for the summer, nearly 100 degrees today. The roof, I've got it on hinges. Each side lifts up for ventilation in case I need to really get some air in there, it gets overheated. The windows have screens in them. The storm windows, they are installed backwards so that it's easy to reach. Lower the panels depending on what the temperature is. If you look down here, you can see a few black soldier flies in there. I've got this dug up out here, getting ready for the water line and the electric to be buried when the mini excavator guy gets here. Let's go around here to the north side, and this is where I have the sheds, closets that I keep the odds and ends in. Let's take a look inside here. You can see the black soldier flies flying around. A couple of them here. Sure, you'll see plenty of them as I go along. They love to mate on these house plants, so I have plenty of those here for them. As soon as I finish the video, I'm gonna need to water them, it looks like. These are my black soldier fly containers right here, and we just put the rabbit manure in there. In the winter time, we try to keep it at 30 Celsius. That's a nice warm temperature for them. I guess that's about 70-ish something for Fahrenheit, excuse me. But you can see the black soldier fly can fly in right here. And there's burlap bags and a piece of wood and some plastic type cardboard that they will lay the eggs in. This keeps the lizards and the frogs and things out of there. So they just consume the rabbit manure right here, and the key to separating them from the rabbit manure is this ramp. And this ramp needs to be on about a 33 plus or minus a couple of degrees, that they crawl up and drop in this pipe right here, and then the pipe runs down to my bucket, which I just emptied. But this is where the larvae accumulate. If we have extra, we feed them to the chickens, but in the wintertime we just let them stay in the fodder house to start up a new colony the next year. So there's 4 of these tubs in here, and they also have a drain on them coming down here, and we catch the black soldier fly emulsion right here. We have a 300-gallon tank out in the garden that we use that for. It is gold on tomato plants and squash and things like that. The key to the drainage system is the coconut shells, husk. You can buy them in a 50-pound bag, I guess it is, from Meadows Farm is where I get mine. It's kind of hard to find a place that carries it, but this pipe runs in, lays across the floor here, and it's got cuts in it so that the water will drain, the emulsion will drain, and then it's got the coconut husk laid over that. And the reason it's coconut husk is because the black soldier flies do not like to crawl through that. They don't want to crawl through there and down. Now some do, but they die because of the liquid. They drowned. So the ideal thing is for them to separate by climbing up this and going into a dry bucket. And they're encouraged to do that by the coconut shell husk. Okay, so that's the black soldier fly. This over here, they like a humid climate, warm and humid. So I got this off of the internet. It's a 24 volt humidifier. So I already had a 24 volt system hooked up. You can see it runs around here to my breakers. And I just use them like switches, just pull the breakers out when I don't want to run something and put them in when I do want to run something. This is the 24 volt load charge controller. So it's really simple. You've got your solar panel coming in, you've got your battery coming in, which I just jumped off of this also to run my breaker panel. So you see two leads on top of here. One is the battery, positive, negative, and the other one is positive, negative for my breakers. For anything else that I might want to do 24. I doubt much else is going to come along. It's just coincidental that the humidifier was 24 volt and, excuse me, a black soldier fly landed on my face. And right now I'm using this as I could switch this over to the breaker now, but right now I've got the fan, the attic fan, which is right up there. And you can kind of see the corner of the solar panel. It's small. Doesn't always do the job. I need to turn it and adjust a little bit more into the sun. But that's a 24 volt attic fan right there, and it's a lifesaver if the temperature happens to get away from me and I'm not here to watch it. It'll kick on the fan and run off of the batteries. I'll take a quick look over here at the batteries. They're down here, two 12 volt batteries hooked up in series to give me 24, and there's a fuse where they're hooked up in series on the other side. I can just pull that fuse and charge them up with a battery charger if I need to, because the solar panel isn't quite big enough to run all the time. Another fuse. Always good to have fuses right at the battery, just to keep from catching everything on fire. Back up here, this is a radio frequency monitor for the temperature. So I've got the main panel in the house next to the bed, then I can keep an eye on the temperature during the day. I also have an old car horn hooked up. It's 12 volt now. We're switching over to the 12 volt system. It's hooked up down here. This is 12 volt coming in from my solar system. This is another one. I have two of them, two lines. I just used a 3 plus a ground. There's one 12 volt and then the ground, and the other one makes the other 12 volt coming from my solar unit. It's a long way, so there's a little bit of a voltage drop, but there's not too much demand on it here in the fodder house. Standard 110 coming in, just a 6-way breaker, charge my phone, whatever else is going on. This is running over to the other side, 110. This way I can run some of the reptile lights in the wintertime to keep the soldier flies going. Really haven't done real well with the soldier flies. We were definitely, oh, there's two, getting it on. So I haven't had too much luck with the soldier flies here in the winter as far as reproduction, but they definitely come on strong in the summertime. So this is my timer right here for the motor. I'm going to show you how the fodder system works now. These are temperature controls. One is 12 volt, one is 24 volt. One is controlling the 24 volt fan. One is controlling the alarm. That's 12 volt. So pretty common, standard little setup. You got power right here, and then you've got the switch. This is powering the little thermometer, and this is switching it on and off. This is DC 12, and the other one is 24. It'll just have a little check mark. This has a check mark by DC 12. The other one has a check mark at 24. So they're hooked up like that. All right, let's take a look at the fodder system. I guess it really starts out down here. This is where the water comes in, right here. This is just an on-off switch right here. And there's a float, sort of like a boat float. If you got too much water in your boat, the float's going to lift up and the pump's going to come in and pump out the water in your boat. Well, I just turned that float over. If my water gets too low, this switch opens and the water fills back up. It's all 12 volt. This is 12 volt switch. The float is 12 volt, just as if you had it rigged up in your boat to come on if there's water in the bilge pump area, and then a switch to pump it out. Now the pump is down here also. It's down below this hole, and there's the pipe where it comes up. So you saw the timer, and it's set to run. Every system is different. My system seems to be about 3 times a day for about 10 or 15 minutes is long enough. This garden hose running over here was last year's design. This year I've got this stand-up pipe right here, and I've got my hole dug, and it goes outside waiting on the mini excavator. I'm going to put that in. Gotta have water in here. The fodder house uses an astronomical amount of water in the winter. These are my measuring cups that I use to measure out how much seed I'm going to put in each tray. And I found that about 12 fluid ounces is a great amount to do for each one of the trays. And the key is not to use too much water or else you'll get algae. But I cheat a little bit with potable pool water bleach. Just a couple of sprinkles into each cup just to keep the bacteria from getting started. So you see the pump, you see it coming up. This is my valve. If I need to drain the system, I'll just put an extension on out the window, turn it on, drain the tank down there, take the tank out, scrub it out, put it back in. But normally it just runs over to here. I think we're still running. You just adjust how much water for each one of these, depending on how many you have on, what your demand is for your water. And then it just, these shelves are on an angle. It runs down to the end of that tray. It drops into this tray. The water runs over here, drops through into the next tray. I've got this white tape here so that I can quickly determine which side has the holes in it. These holes it's a crucial size. Not so big that the seeds clog it up, but not so small that algae clogs it up. So you've got to find that real delicate balance for the holes. Same with the amount of holes that you're going to put in there. So it just drops and moves forward and drops and moves back there and drops down, moves forward. It's caught in the gutter, and the gutter comes over and drops into here. The other gutter's not in right now because of the standpipe we're getting ready to put in. these little screws just keep me lined up with where the trays go. I'd like to have some sort of tape or some protective, because sometimes I get in a hurry and these things will make a hole in a tray very quickly. This is the wood stove. I put this pipe in for ventilation mainly because if I ever use propane, the propane will drain the oxygen out of the building and it will actually go off. So this pipe was mainly for that intention. Now I use it as fresh air and as a control for ventilation for this one, because the damper and the thermostatic control air is all gone, broken off of this one. But it just snaps off and I can get into my wood stove and keep it going all winter. Just like that. These 2x4s up here in the ceiling, I've got them critically placed so that my trays will fit up here, and I can actually do a few seedlings in here early in the spring, maybe get a couple of trays of seedlings going. These shelves are on hinges, that way I can fine-tune the adjustment if I need to, up a little bit, down a little bit, for drainage. Find the proper drainage speed. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been a help. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.